Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a legendary creature said to inhabit remote forests, particularly in the Pacific Northwest of North America, like parts of the US and Canada. It's usually described as a large, ape-like being that walks upright on two legs, covered in dark hair, and standing anywhere from 2 to 3 meters tall. Reports often include huge footprints, a strong odor, and eerie vocalizations. Stories of Bigfoot have roots in indigenous folklore long before modern sightings. In the 20th century, the legend grew through eyewitness accounts, blurry photographs, and famous pieces of alleged evidence like the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, which appears to show a walking creature resembling Bigfoot. Despite decades of searches and investigations, there is no solid scientific proof that Bigfoot exists, no confirmed remains, DNA, or clear, verifiable evidence. Most scientists believe sightings can be explained by misidentified animals, like bears, hoaxes, or human imagination. Still, Bigfoot remains a major part of popular culture and cryptozoology, inspiring documentaries, TV shows, and ongoing expeditions by enthusiasts hoping to prove it's real. The Loch Ness Monster, often called Nessie, is a legendary creature said to live in Loch Ness, a large, deep freshwater lake in Scotland. It's typically described as a long-necked, large-bodied animal, sometimes compared to a prehistoric marine reptile like a plesiosaur. Stories about a mysterious creature in the lake go back over 1,000 years, with one of the earliest mentions appearing in writings about Saint Columba in the 6th century. However, modern interest really took off in the 1930s after a series of reported sightings and a famous photograph known as the surgeon's photo, which was later revealed to be a hoax. Despite numerous investigations using sonar, underwater cameras, and scientific studies, there is no reliable evidence that the Loch Ness Monster exists. Most scientists think sightings can be explained by natural causes such as large fish, floating debris, waves, or optical illusions. Even without proof, Nessie remains one of the world's most famous cryptids and a big part of Scottish tourism and folklore. A sea serpent is a legendary type of marine creature reported in oceans around the world, usually described as a long, snake-like animal with a large body that sometimes rises above the water's surface. Sightings often describe it as having coils, a horse or dragon-like head, and sometimes fins or humps along its back. Stories of sea serpents go back thousands of years and appear in many cultures. In Scandinavia, sailors told tales of giant serpents lurking in cold seas, while Norse mythology features creatures like Jörmungandr, a massive serpent said to encircle the world. Similar creatures appear in Asian and indigenous folklore as well. During the 18th and 19th centuries, sailors frequently reported sightings, and some accounts were even taken seriously by early naturalists. However, modern science has found no solid evidence that sea serpents exist. Most sightings are believed to be misidentified animals such as giant squids, whales, or large fish like oarfish, which can look serpent-like when swimming near the surface. Today, sea serpents remain part of maritime folklore and cryptozoology, capturing imagination but lacking verified proof. The Yeti, often called the Abominable Snowman, is a legendary ape-like creature said to live in the high mountains of the Himalayas, especially in regions of Nepal and Tibet. It's typically described as a large, hairy, human-like being that walks upright, similar in some ways to Bigfoot. Stories of the Yeti come from local Himalayan folklore, where it has been part of traditional beliefs for centuries. Western interest grew in the early 20th century when explorers reported seeing large footprints in the snow, which they couldn't easily explain. Over time, several expeditions have tried to find evidence of the Yeti, collecting hair samples and documenting tracks. However, scientific analysis has consistently shown these samples to come from known animals, such as bears or other wildlife native to the region. Today, most scientists consider the Yeti a myth or a case of mistaken identity, but it remains an important cultural legend in Himalayan communities and a popular subject in books, films, and cryptozoology. Aliens usually refers to extraterrestrial life, any living organisms that originate outside Earth. The idea ranges from tiny microbes to highly intelligent beings capable of advanced technology. Scientists take the possibility of alien life seriously, especially in fields like astrobiology, which explores how life might exist elsewhere. With billions of galaxies and planets in the universe, many researchers think simple life, like microbes, could exist beyond Earth. Missions have searched for signs of life on places like Mars and icy moons such as Europa. There have also been reports of UFOs, now often called UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. While some sightings remain unexplained, most are eventually linked to natural phenomena, aircraft, or human-made objects. Governments and organizations like NASA study these reports, but no confirmed evidence shows that aliens have visited Earth. In short, alien life is scientifically possible and widely studied, but there is currently no verified proof of intelligent extraterrestrial beings or contact with them. The kraken is a legendary sea monster said to dwell in the waters off Norway and Greenland. It's typically described as a gigantic, tentacled creature, often compared to a massive octopus or squid, capable of dragging entire ships beneath the ocean. The legend comes from Scandinavian folklore, where sailors told stories of enormous beasts rising from the deep, creating whirlpools and attacking vessels. These tales became especially popular in the 18th century, when reports of the kraken were written about as if they might be real. Modern science suggests that the myth may have been inspired by sightings of real animals like the giant squid, which can grow to impressive sizes and live deep underwater. Encounters with such rarely seen creatures could easily have been exaggerated into stories of a monster. Today, the kraken remains a famous symbol of ocean mystery, appearing in books, films, and games. But like other sea monsters, there is no scientific evidence that it actually exists. The drop bear is a fictional creature from modern Australian folklore, often told as a joke to scare tourists. It's said to be a vicious, carnivorous relative of the koala that lives in trees and drops onto unsuspecting people passing below. Stories describe drop bears as larger than koalas, with sharp claws and teeth and extremely aggressive behavior. Supposed advice for avoiding them, like putting forks in your hair or speaking in an Australian accent, is part of the joke. Unlike legends such as Bigfoot or the Yeti, the drop bear is not based on traditional ancient folklore or reported sightings. It's widely understood to be a humorous myth created by Australians to prank visitors. In reality, there is no evidence that drop bears exist. They're purely a playful piece of modern storytelling. The jackalope is a mythical animal from North American folklore, usually described as a jackrabbit with antelope-like horns. It's often depicted as shy but fast, living in open plains and desert areas, especially in the western United States. The legend became popular in the 1930s, largely thanks to taxidermy hoaxes created by the Herrick brothers in Wyoming, who mounted deer antlers onto rabbit bodies and sold them as curiosities. These displays helped spread the idea that such a creature might exist. Stories about jackalopes often include humorous traits, like being able to mimic human voices or being extremely difficult to catch. Some tales even claim they can only breed during lightning storms. In reality, jackalopes aren't real animals. However, A real disease called Shope papillomavirus can cause rabbits to grow horn-like tumors, which may have contributed to the myth. Today, the jackalope remains a fun symbol of American tall tales and roadside attractions, rather than a genuine cryptid. Champ is a lake monster legend said to live in Lake Champlain, which lies between the United States and Canada. It's often described as a large, serpent-like creature with a long neck and humps visible above the water, somewhat similar to the Loch Ness Monster. Reports of a mysterious creature in the lake go back to indigenous Abenaki and Iroquois stories, long before European settlers arrived. Later, even historical figures like Samuel de Champlain wrote about unusual animals in the lake, though descriptions vary. Sightings increased in the 19th and 20th centuries, with people claiming to see something large moving through the water or leaving wakes behind. One of the most famous pieces of supposed evidence is a 1977 photograph showing a dark, long shape in the lake, though it remains unverified. Scientists generally believe sightings of Champ can be explained by known animals, like large fish, floating logs, or wave patterns. No solid physical evidence has ever confirmed its existence. Even so, Champ remains an important part of local folklore and tourism around Lake Champlain. Mothman is a legendary creature reported in the 1960s in the United States, most famously in and around Point Pleasant. It's typically described as a tall, human-shaped figure with large wings and glowing red eyes. The first widely reported sightings began in 1966, when people claimed to see a strange, winged man in the area. These reports were followed by unexplained events, including strange phone calls and sightings of unidentified lights in the sky, which helped fuel the legend. Mothman became strongly associated with the tragic collapse of the Silver Bridge collapse in 1967, where 46 people died. Some people believed the creature was a warning sign of the disaster, though there is no scientific connection between the sightings and the collapse. Researchers and skeptics suggest that Mothman sightings could be misidentified animals, like large birds, owls seen in unusual lighting, or mass hysteria influenced by local rumors. There is no verified physical evidence that Mothman exists. Today, Mothman is a popular figure in cryptid folklore, especially in West Virginia, where it has become a cultural icon with festivals, museums, and tourism. The chupacabra is a modern cryptid from folklore in the Americas, especially associated with reports from Puerto Rico, Mexico, and parts of the southwestern United States. The name means goat sucker in Spanish, because it is said to attack livestock, especially goats, and drain their blood. Descriptions of the creature vary. Early reports in the 1990s described it as a reptile-like, alien-looking being with spines along its back and glowing eyes. Later sightings, especially in rural areas, often describe it more like a strange, hairless wild dog or coyote. The legend began gaining attention after a series of livestock deaths in Puerto Rico in the mid-1990s. From there, reports spread across Latin America and into the United States, with many farmers blaming mysterious animal attacks on the chupacabra. Scientists and wildlife experts generally believe these sightings are misidentified animals, especially coyotes suffering from mange, a skin disease that causes hair loss and strange appearances. No physical evidence of a separate unknown species has ever been confirmed. Despite that, the chupacabra remains a popular part of modern folklore and continues to appear in stories, media, and pop culture. The Jersey Devil is a legendary creature said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, especially in its dense, swampy forests. It's typically described as a strange, winged creature with a horse or goat-like head, bat wings, hooves, and a long tail. The legend is often traced back to colonial-era folklore, with one popular version claiming it was the cursed 13th child of a woman named Mother Leeds in the 1700s. According to the story, the child transformed into a monstrous creature and flew off into the woods. Sightings of the Jersey Devil increased in the early 1990s, particularly during a famous outbreak in 1909, when newspapers reported hundreds of people claiming to see the creature. These reports included strange footprints, unexplained noises, and sightings of a flying beast over towns in the region. Most historians and scientists believe these accounts were caused by mass hysteria, misidentified animals, hoaxes, or exaggerated newspaper reporting. There is no physical evidence that the Jersey Devil exists. Still, the legend remains a strong part of local culture in New Jersey, and it continues to appear in stories, sports team mascots, and regional folklore. The kappa is a creature from Japanese folklore, often described as a water-dwelling spirit that lives in rivers, ponds, and lakes. It is usually shown as a small, humanoid being with scaly skin, a beak-like mouth, and a dish-like depression on top of its head that holds water. In stories from traditional Japanese mythology, especially in rural areas, the kappa is known for being mischievous or even dangerous. It is said to pull people and animals into the water, sometimes drowning them, but it can also be tricked or outsmarted. One common tale says that bowing to a kappa causes it to bow back, spilling the water from its head, weakening it and making it harmless. At the same time, not all stories portray kappa as evil. In some versions, they are polite, knowledgeable about medicine, or even helpful if treated respectfully. They are often used in folklore to warn children about the dangers of deep water. Today, the kappa remains a popular figure in Japanese culture, appearing in art, festivals, and modern media, and is one of the best-known mythical creatures from Japan. The Dover demon is a cryptid reported in 1977 in Dover. It is described as a small, strange creature with a large melon-shaped head, glowing eyes, thin limbs, and a pale, hairless body. The first sightings happened over a 2-day period in April 1977, when several teenagers independently reported seeing an unusual creature along rural roads at night. Each description was similar enough that the sightings gained attention and were later investigated by local researchers. Unlike many other cryptids, the Dover demon was never seen again after those brief encounters, and there are no photos, physical evidence, or tracks that could confirm its existence. Because of this, it is often considered one of the more mysterious modern sightings. Explanations from skeptics include misidentification of animals, such as young moose or foxes seen at night, optical illusions in low light, or the effects of fear and suggestion among witnesses. Despite the lack of evidence, the Dover demon remains a well-known example of modern cryptid lore, largely because of how sudden and well-documented the sightings were compared to many other legends. The Flatwoods Monster, also called the Braxton County Monster, is a reported cryptid from a 1952 sighting in Flatwoods. Witnesses, mostly a group of local children, described seeing a glowing object in the sky that appeared to land on a nearby hill. When they went to investigate, they reported encountering a tall, frightening figure with a glowing red face, a spade-shaped head, and a dark, floating body. Some accounts also mention claw-like arms or a mechanical appearance. The event quickly gained attention and became one of the most famous monster sightings in American folklore. It occurred during a time when UFO reports were common in the United States, which helped fuel speculation that the creature was extraterrestrial. Most researchers and skeptics suggest the sighting can be explained by misidentified natural phenomena combined with fear and poor visibility. Possibly, a barn owl seen in unusual lighting, or other ordinary wildlife that appeared strange in the dark. There is no physical evidence that the Flatwoods Monster exists, but it remains a well-known part of UFO and cryptid folklore and is a popular figure in West Virginia local culture.